Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining in this session. This is Pranav from the product management team of Wimbo, and along with me, I have Mr. Nivas, who is a co-organizer for this session today, and he's a senior product analyst from the Wimbo. So today we'll be handling it is a pattern of series of webinar for version 5.0. So we are just giving a full sneak peek into what the BDR version 5.0 holds before a general release is going to happen. So on that basis, today's webinar is basically organized for Microsoft Hyper-V backups. So we'll be getting into that subject later. But before that, there are some ground rules that Wimbo in this webinar of Wimbo that we have configured in. So this webinar is being recorded, and as well, this is in all the guests will be in listen-only mode. So throughout the session, you will be in muted state. So, and if you have any questions in the middle of the session, you can just have a posted in your QA chat box. So our co-organizer is ready to answer that, and we'll have this recordings to be posted after 48 hours from post the webinar. Okay, so you can find that recordings in our website itself. We'll be giving you the link for that, no issues. And this is how your ground rules of the webinar is all about. Now to the webinar, it starts. So today's webinar has been organized towards the to give you an outlook or a knowledge about what is there in the version 5.0, and this is more concentrated towards what's new in Wimbo backup and replication for Microsoft version Hyper-V 5.0 version 5.0 of Hyper-V. Okay, so this is what the session is all about, because as I said before, this is a series of webinar for version 5.0 release of Wimbo BDR Suite. So we are just giving up what are the features that has come up in all the products of version 5.0. So on this week series, we are just going to look about the backup and replication for Microsoft Hyper-V. So the agenda for today's webinar, it's regarding the features and enhancements that is going to come, as well as how to avail the version beta of 5.0. And then you will have a live webinar demonstrated. And if we have time, we will be discussing about the Q&A in the session itself. If not, no issues. We have Nivas who will be sending you the mails. If you are not able to cover this with a Q&A session, we'll be sending you mails so you can have your questions to be answered. So starting on with a small intro with Wimbo. Wimbo, one of the leaders in the backup and disaster recovery market. So we have been providing, we are the vendors of backup and disaster recovery for more than a decade and a half years of experience. And we have our footsteps in 100+ countries with 60,000+ businesses are using our software so far. So, main goal of Wimbo is like to provide enterprise class backup and disaster recovery feature to SMBs and mid-range businesses at a nominal rate, which is a challenging price range in this market. And that is why we have been leaders for long years. And these are the technologies partners that we have partnered with to make up this product. So we start from VMware to Hewlett Packard, complete section of technology partners of Wimbo. And these are few of our customers, though they are the giants in their own market, they are using our softwares because we have the enterprise class features that actually satisfies them. So we have NASA, Fujitsu, Kawasaki, Samsung, and more. So these customers, giants in their own market, are still using Wimbo to bring in their brand. Directly jumping into the Wimbo's flagship product. So actually, Wimbo, a company, a software vendor, has a main flagship product, that is one flagship product throughout, that is Wimbo BDR Suite. So this Wimbo BDR Suite is a package which encapsulates many product features in it. Based on their portfolios, they have been separated and there are much more features that is adding towards it. So when we look into the products, we have the product to back up your virtual environment. We have a product to back up your physical environment. We have a product to satisfy your granular backup needs. We have Office 365 and Google Workspace backup, that is your SaaS-based applications backup. And we also have your cloud instance backup, that is backup for AWS. So when I jump deep into it, when I say about the backup for my virtual environment, I literally cover more about the backup and replication for VMware and the backup and replication for Microsoft Hyper-V. And when I say about the physical environment backup, I'm referring to the backup for my Microsoft Windows machines that can either be a server machine or your workstation. And then the granular level of backup, as it is a granular level of backup, it is more towards the file or folder level backup and even some applications of Microsoft that we have added along with MySQL. So totally 6 applications that you can individually or granularly take a backup. So the 6 applications such as Microsoft Exchange Server, Mailbox, MS SQL, MS Exchange Mailbox, and then your Microsoft SharePoint. So 5 of the Microsoft applications. Along with it, we also support MySQL. So totally 6 applications that you can take a backup. And this file and application backup is suitable for your Windows backup, that is your Windows environment, your Linux environment, as well as your Mac environment. And this backup is through a client agent. So that's what your granular level of backup is meaning. And your SaaS-based application backup, that is Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace backup. So you can back up your details, that is your calendars, Google Workspace or OneDrive, and then your emails and all the stuffs along with SharePoint and Teams of Microsoft. You can just back them up and store it on-prem. And we also have this AWS backup using the cloud native APIs of Amazon Web Services. You can back up your Amazon instance and you can store it locally. So these actually are the main scenario for Wembu BDR Suite or the Wembu BDR backup server that you're going to install it on-prem. And then there are some add-ons. So though I've discussed about the backup scenarios, there is something at the back of Wembu BDR, that is DR, the disaster recovery. To satisfy the disaster recovery scenarios, we have 2 add-ons, that is Offsite DR of Wembu and Wembu Cloud DR. In Offsite DR, it is similar to a BDR backup server. You just need to install it in your on-prem or your cloud environment. Okay. So if you have a cloud instance, you can install this Wembu Offsite DR server over there, and you get to connect that with Wembu BDR server. So once that gets connected, you will have a secondary copy of your backup data to be stored in your offsite location. So even if your production site along with the BDR backup server goes down, you have your offsite DR to have that holds the copy of the data, so you can boot up things from your offsite DR to work around. So you have the similar recovery options that you have for a backup job that processed in a BDR backup server as well as in the offsite DR server. So when I come to Wembu Cloud DR server, if for example there's a scenario that you can't afford for a offsite DR server in your environment, so in that case, for most of the SMBs go for that option. So in that case, you can purchase a Wembu Cloud space from Wembu. So this Wembu Cloud is actually hosted in AWS. So you will have Wembu Cloud along with the username and password that you can hold. So what happens is once you enable this Wembu Cloud, all your secondary copy of your backup data from your BDR backup server will be stored in Wembu Cloud DR. So you can, along with the username and password, wherever you are in this world, you can restore your data. There are limitations for when you compare with Wembu Offsite DR and Wembu Cloud DR, but those limitations are only along the recovery side. Comparatively, the Wembu Cloud DR has a less recovery options than the Wembu Offsite DR. So this is an overview. And we have something called as Wembu Cloud BDR Suite. So as I told you, like Wembu BDR backup server, so that is something like you have to install it on either on your on-prem, or you can even install it on a cloud instance, but you need a server environment for that. So in that case, for people who are more cost effective, they need some cloud-based services and a secured environment to protect their data. So in that case, Wimbo has brought in a product called Wimbo Cloud BDR Suite. So in this, you don't have to have a separate BDR. You don't have to have a separate backup server. It is all in your cloud itself. So as I said, you just need to purchase a cloud. That's it. So the cloud will act as a BDR backup server for you, and also as a storage space. So what happens is, once you purchase the cloud space, as of now, we have the options to back up your file and application. That is cloud backup for file and applications, cloud backup for AWS, cloud backup for Microsoft 365, cloud backup for Google Workspace. Only these 4 backups can be done as so in 5.0. So like in this case, like you just need to download a client agent for the respective backups. So install the client agent on a particular machine that you want to take a backup, and the client will back up the data and it will send it directly to the cloud space allocated to you. So that is the storage space where the client acts in. So as of now, as I said, we have only 4. We are also trying to bring up other 3 options, like Wimbo Cloud Backup for backup and replication for VMware, Wimbo Cloud Backup and replication for Microsoft Hyper-V, and Wimbo Cloud Backup for Microsoft Windows. So all these will be in the future releases. So we are trying to bring that up in our upcoming releases of now. So a small intro of Wimbo. I think I've satisfied the things what Wimbo does, and it's explained the portfolios that we have. And now the main part is we are jumping into the Wimbo BDR Suite version 5.0. And this we are going to this Wimbo 5.0, though it is going to be coming up in a couple of months from now, we already have the beta version to be released in our website, so people can try using it. But the main difference between the version 4.2 and the version 5.0 is a lot of UI changes, a lot of more user-friendly that we have brought in, and a lot of extraordinary features that we have brought in at a nominal rate. So this is what made this version 5.0 a surprising package for all the persons who are going to use it. So in this version 5.0, we're going to check on the Wimbo backup and replication for Microsoft Hyper-V. So initially in 4.0, we didn't have an option called Hyper-V replication. We just had the backup for Microsoft Cluster, Hyper-V Cluster, Microsoft Hyper-V standalone host, and SMB servers. We didn't have a replication option previously in version 4.2, the prior version to version 5.0, which is going to come. So in this version 5.0, we have brought in, or I could say that we have introduced the VM replication for Hyper-V also. So in this, you can replicate your Hyper-V VMs from one host to another or to the same host in order to ensure business continuity at times of disaster. So this replication is also a type of disaster recovery option that that gives a weightage to this. So that is why Wimbo has included this Hyper-V replication in this version of release. And then parallel VM processing. For example, if you just want to take a backup of a complete set of VMs, like if you want to organize things like taking a backup at a host level, for example, the complete host which has 5 to 6 VMs under it. So in that case, we can just specify how parallelly you want to run your virtual machines backup. So instead, previously it was like after one virtual machine backup is complete, there comes a next backup of the next machine. So this is even in a one single backup job, this was a like, I wouldn't say it was a drop down, but it was taking time. It was not giving that of more effective things. But now in version 5.0, we brought in this parallel VM processing. So with this, you can support the parallel backups for multiple virtual machines with multiple disks in a single backup job of a single host. Okay, and then multiple host backup. Yeah. So this is one of the main important feature. For example, if you just want to jumble up and take a mixture of backup from both the hosts or one or more than 1 to 2 to 3 hosts, then you can use this multiple host backup. So with this option, you can create a backup job with multiple number of hosts, and you can run the jobs parallelly, though you have this VM processing also enabled. So you will have a parallel backup job to rerun, and that keeps your backup time frame within the limits. And then we have instant boot live migration, which is a new feature that we have bought in. So yeah, obviously everyone must have known that Vimbu was giving you the instant boot VM recovery option previously, even in 4.0. But this instant boot live migration is to make sure that once you boot the machine, though the instant boot is a temporary booting option or a temporary recovery option during the disaster recovery time. So once you boot the machine, you have it to be run on a temporary basis. So, and once your main source is normal, you can just unmount the machine. That is how your version 4.2 was using it. But in this version, we have something which actually adds weightage to this product. So this with this feature, once you instantly boot the data, you will have a virtual machine to be booted in either VMware or Hyper-V. But to enable this instant boot live migration, make sure you boot the machine on a VMware environment. That is your ESXi host or your vCenter host, whichever it is. So once you boot it up in that environment, you'll have your data to be temporarily mounted as a virtual machine. In that case, you'll start working out in that newly created virtual machine. And you don't have to bring back things. When you go to this live migration option to be enabled, what happens is that temporarily mounted data will be changed into the permanent one. So you can bring that a permanent one, and you can lose the ties, or you can make that independent. You can make that as an independent virtual machine, and you can try to use your data from that. So actually, this is a type of a permanent migration process. So this is both for your physical as well as your virtual machine backup, that where you can instantly put a VM on a VMware ESXi can be made independent after it has been booted. So that's an instant boot live migration, a new option that we have added in. So yeah, so these are the main backup features that related to the Hyper-V backup. And now we are going to see some new features that also adds I could say a flavor to this version 5.0. This what I'm going to discuss now, the features, these 4 features which I'm going to discuss now is both common for VMware also. So we have something called as where it left off. So in this, for example, if there is a backup that is happening, and when there is an interruption in that backup range, then your backup will resume and it will continue only from where it left off after your things are normal. So maybe like if there is a network failure, so obviously there will be a break in your backup transfer data. So when it is resumed to be normal, obviously it will start from where, at the point from where the backup is left to be transferred. So that is what the where it left off feature is all about. And we have introduced newly the synthetic full backup. So this synthetic full backups it's basically created by the repository just by merging the full backup and all its subsequent incrementals. If, for example, you are configuring it on a weekly basis, then obviously we'll mix up by merging the full backup and its incrementals together from the backup repository itself. So this is the synthetic full backup option that we have added new. And the GFS retention, the grandfather, father, son retention. Now we have added more options to that. So you will have with GFS retention that it will help you to create the restore points on weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis. So even you can store your or archive your backup data for a longer period of time through this multiple GFS options that we provide. And a new feature that has been added now based on the repository is your drive rotation. So we can even say it as disk rotation also. So it actually helps you to multiply add some external hard drives, and you can keep on swapping them at times of regular intervals. So for example, you have a backup job, you just configure it in one external drive, and then you just switch it off and turn to another external drive, you will have another backup job. I mean, the same backup job will create a full backup on that. So like this, you can swap your external drives and you can continue to rotate your drives at regular intervals of time. So this is also a new feature that we have added in for the BDR version 5.0. And again, the other features that is in version 5.0 are the backup job template. So based on the backup SLAs, you can just create a template, and with that you can add n number of virtual machines to take that backup. So this is I could say it is it's a pre-denoted rule or something, a portfolio or a rule that comes in for a particular backup jobs that you're going to configure in future. So it is completely based on the backup SLAs that you're going to configure. So like this, you can create a number of templates and you can assign backup jobs based on that template. Apart from that, we also have this application item level recovery. Previously in version 4.0, you were organizing, or you were granularly restoring the application items of Microsoft Exchange, Microsoft SharePoint, Microsoft SQL, and Microsoft Active Directory at item level through a tool called Universal Explorer. So that was in your version 4.0, but now in version 5.0, we brought this item level recovery directly in the UI, backup server UI itself. So you don't have to install any separate universal tool or separate agent to restore your data. So if you're taking an image level backup, for example, if you're running a virtual machine of Exchange on Hyper-V host, and you have taken a backup of that virtual machine, you can just restore only the data, that is application data, at a granular level through this application item level recovery option. And the newly added points for SaaS-based applications, for example, the SharePoint and Teams backup. So this is something which we have added new for Microsoft 365 backups of SaaS applications and Google Workspace backup. So with this, you can restore your backup, cloud data that you have taken a backup at a granular level and store it in your on-prem as well as on cloud. So this is what your new features in version 5.0 is all about. But the main point here is for Microsoft Hyper-V is the Hyper-V VM replication, the parallel VM processing, the multi-host backup, and instant boot live migration. These are the main four added feature that would raise up this backup and replication for Microsoft Hyper-V in this version 5.0. And these are where it left off: synthetic full backup, GFS retention, disk rotation, backup job template, application item level recovery. All these are common, which is common both for VMware as well as Hyper-V, as well as disk image level backup also. So now we'll see about the enhancements that has been ordered in version 5.0. So when this new version of BDR, you can initiate restore when the backup in this progress. So your parallel backup and restore process can be done. And then you can even run your offsite copy as well as your backup job parallelly. And your enhanced, the new UI actually gives you a better user-friendly navigation through the pages, among the pages. And the other one is the restore of Hyper-V virtual machines will be with its own configuration. You don't have to do any customization for that. So you can restore the VMs with the original configuration itself. And we have something called as backup windows. So for example, you can schedule a time from when to when not to run the backup job. So that is what your backup window is all about. You have bandwidth throttling. So for individual backup jobs, you can set up a bandwidth throttling, and you can set a priority of when to run on which to run on what resources it should occur while taking a backup. And file level recovery support for dynamic disk backup is something which we have added new. So initially we were able to just mount the data. Now we have this file level recovery for your dynamic, the data that you're storing it in dynamic disks also. So and at last, if you're using any storage appliances like which has its own compression and deduplication, then you get an option to disable the compression and encryption of the backup data done by our software. So here with this, we will be able to support the NAS drives or some of the network drives that are a storage appliance that is being used by the user. So this is actually what the Wimbo BDR Suite version 5.0 enhancement is all about. So yeah, now we'll jump on to the live demo. Just give me a minute before I take my screen. So this is my application. So I can just, the application is all normal. The installation part of the application is all normal. So we have the link of this application that is software, the version 5.0 in our website. So you can just download the beta link for now and you can test the product. So yeah, coming to the product. So initially, after your installation, you just need to log in using your username and password, that is admin and admin by default. So once you log in, immediately it will ask you to give a BDR ID, a unique ID for your BDR backup server. It's just like adding a name to your BDR backup server. So this is my BDR backup server. I've just given a BDR ID here. So this can be anything that goes with your customization. So once you give your BDR ID, there will be a pop-up giving you the guidelines of what to do next. So immediately, the next press is your storage. So we have this backup repository. You have to configure this backup repository. So this is the prior step before you configure any backup job or before you add any host to configure a backup job. So for that, you need a storage. So the BDR server, once you log into BDR server, the immediate step excuse me. So the immediate step that you have to look into is to add a block storage. So you can add your NAS drive, your SAN drive, that is your any of your network attached drive, your local volumes, or your DAS, directly attached storage, anything it can be, you can just add it. So once you just enter this block storage option, have this backup repository to be created, you can click on create new block storage repository option. So once you create, you will have the pop-up. So here are my local drives that I have configured. Already I have configured a storage. Now I can choose which one to go for, the repository type. Either I can go with a simple one. So if I'm going to choose a simple one, I will like if it is like 100 GB of data, 100 GB of storage, only till 100 GB I'll be able to use. I can't extend it. Okay. So that's what the simple is all about. When you choose a scale out, yeah, you can see this is of checkbox, so you can check in or pull in 2 of your resources and create a backup repository. If needed, you can even add your network attached storage. For example, you click on add network drive as storage volume option. Here you can check this box, read through the instructions given here, just mount the path by giving the data drive path of your storage, that is your network attached storage, and display name like a drive letter, like in a single word, like GAB, like that. And you have, if needed, you can just give your username and password if it is customizable, then save it. Once you save, what happens is that particular volume will be, or the storage will be listed as a volume over here, as a storage volume. So with that, you can create, you can just pull in the local volume as well as your NAS volume together to create a backup repository, and that too falls under the scale out repository. And you have disk rotation option also, so you can choose any of the disks and you can rotate the disks between that. So that is how you swap your rotations. So in this case, here you could see the difference. So in this case, like disk rotation, you can choose any one or not more than that. And in a similar manner, even for simple, you can just choose any one. So all these buttons over here are radial one. And for scale out, when I choose, I get to see a checkbox where I can scale out my repository whenever and needed by adding in new volumes at any point of time. So with this, I can just add a repository name and I can choose whether this to be a backup default storage repository. Once I set this up, if for example you are using a storage appliance, then you can enable this option called disable compression and encryption for this repository. This is what I just mentioned before. Like if you are holding a storage appliance, you can disable our software based compression and encryption and you can create a repository. So what happens is the backup server will give the storage raw data, that is like not compressed data or not encrypted data. So the compression and encryption will be done by your storage appliance. If you hold any storage appliance of that sort, you can go for this, or else you can just go with the normal end. So what happens is, by default, you are enabled of compression and encryption of by the software, which is done by the software, will be by default enabled. Okay, with this, when you click on create, what happens is a storage repository will be created. I've already created a storage volume with N drive. If, for example, that is of 100 GB of data. So if, for example, if it is filled up, I can just add in by clicking on click edit option. So since it is a scale out repository, I can add any of the volumes to that, and I can create a repository with that also. So what happens is your backup job doesn't fail. So this is what your process of creating a backup repository is all about, and this is the main the initial step before you start on with any of your backups. Now, once you've done that, the next immediate step is to add the host that you want to take a backup. So before adding host, there's one main step that you have to do. Only for Hyper-V and Windows Disk Image backups, this is the main step. You just run through the services.msc and go to the service of Wembu BDA backup server for physical workloads and all that. In that, you have to change the service to be running on initially it will be running on local system account. You have to change it with the administrator privilege. Why? Because once you add this, only then you can add your your host that you're trying to take a backup to this BDA backup server, because to add the host, we'll be pushing an agent called Wembu Integration Service. So only through that agent, your backup is all getting processed. So once you do that step, change your logon to administrator privilege, you can just come back to data sources, the second immediate tab after your backup infrastructure, that is your BDI infrastructure. You have your add Hyper-V, Microsoft Hyper-V option. You can click on that. Either you can go with the adding of Hyper-V cluster, that if you have any number of nodes to attach to a cluster, you can just add that up, or you can add your Hyper-V standalone host or your SMB service. Here I've added my Hyper-V standalone host here. So once you click on, you can just click on this add Hyper-V server. Here you have to give your IP address or the DNS name of the standalone server that you're trying to take a backup with its administrator credentials, and you can save it. So here we have something called as the parallel processing, that is like within a job, within VIS, how many jobs that you can run parallelly. So by default, it is like 5, not more than 5 that you can configure, but within 5 you can take the backups. So you can just save that up. So once saved, you'll have the VIS to be pushed to the particular targeted machine that you have added. So your host name will also be added, and you'll get a notification similar to this, like the host name is added and your Wembu integration service or Wembu backup agent has been pushed to that or installed in that host. So once that is all done, so you have added the host, then the immediate step is to configure a backup. So you can just go to the click on backup and configure backup and click on Microsoft Hyper-V. So here you can create a backup job. For example, if I'm going to create a backup job in the name of test, or I can just give it in the name of webinar trial. So I'm just giving a backup job name, and I choose a repository. For example, if I've created an n number of repository, I can put this particular backup job in any of the repository that I've created. But for now, since this is my default repository, I'm just putting it here. Well, if I need to create a backup repository, particularly for this backup job, then I can add my backup repository from this page. I click on it, I get a pop-up, so I can create a new backup repository and make sure this job sits in that backup repository. Okay, and yeah, and the template. If, for example, this is the initial step actually. So if, for example, you want to go with the template, I've already created some templates here. So we'll see what the templates are. So I have my templates here. So I've created a template at a specific time period where I have some details here. So this is a template for Hyper-V, and I want all these data using this template to be stored in this storage repository. And I can schedule from which time I want to run my schedule time, my additional full backup, or the synthetic full backup schedule time. All these can be processed before. So this backup job template is nothing but that makes your work easier. Like for example, tomorrow if you just want to configure a backup job of Hyper-V, you don't have to go through all these steps which is going to follow. You can just create a template, and with that, like, you can select the template from here and you can move forward. So that is what your template is used for. Now we'll just go with the main step. So if it is a template, you don't have to worry about this process. But if it is not a template, I'll show you how this works. So we are going to create a backup job. Just give the backup job name and select in which repository you want to store the data. And this job description, it is all up to you. You can just continue. The next case, you can see that I have added 2 Hyper-V servers. So that's what I showed you in data source. So I have added 2 Hyper-V servers. So I can choose any one of the server. And I can take a backup at a host level, or I can specifically choose any particular virtual machine to take a backup. So if I'm going for a multi-host level of backup, I can choose the 2 hosts together. So this, when I expand, so this is my host and this is another host. So all the virtual machines are under it. I can try to take a backup at a host level, a complete host level, or specifically, like, I can choose whichever the virtual machine that I want to take a backup from both the hosts. So this is what it is all about. And for example, if I'm going to take a backup at a host level, if I'm going to select this backup at the host level, I already have 3 virtual machines running under it. And if I add a 4th virtual machine, then as per the schedule, virtual machine, the newly added virtual machine will also be taken a backup. So that is what your option for when you go for a host level backup is concerned. So if, for example, yeah, I'm choosing one virtual machine or a complete set of a host. So what happens is I get the host completely, where I can do some exclusions. So either I could exclude certain virtual machines. Here in exclusions, I can do both. That is, I can exclude certain virtual machines as well as I can exclude certain disks from the backup. So in this action icon, I can choose to exclude certain virtual machines, and I can continue to take my backup. I've excluded 2 virtual machines from the host. On next, when I choose, I can choose or to exclude certain disks. When I choose to exclude certain disks, I can either go with only the system disk backup by excluding all other disks, or I can choose the ID format or the SCSI format of the disk and configure only that to be backed up. So this is how the disk exclusion works. And immediately after that, if for example you have taken a backup or you want to take a backup of your application virtual machine or the virtual machine that is running any of your applications, then you have this process called AppAware. That is, you can enable that through this guest processing settings. So when you just enable, you can just click on enable completely. So what happens is your AppAware, your log truncation, and your file exclusion of system files like pagefile.sys and hyperfile.sys will be enabled automatically. Or you can just take an action where you can restrict, like you can disable the application aware and the log truncation, and you can just go with file exclusion alone. So this is how you can configure this guest processing. So this AppAware is like our best recommendation will be, if you're using any or you're taking any backup of your application installed virtual machine, it is better that you enable this AppAware, because while you enable this AppAware, this BDApp backup server will ensure that the application writers are consistent or brought to the consistent state, and then we'll take an snap of your application so that there doesn't occur any overlap on the screenshots that we are going to take. Okay, so this is what your guest processing is all about. And if you enable this, then obviously the next immediate step is to give the guest credentials. Like for a virtual machine that you're going to take a backup, then you have to provide the credentials for that virtual machine with administrator privilege. Only then your guest processing will be successful. So once you've done it, I'm sorry, for now I'm just disabling it. Once you have done it, the next immediate step after guest processing is scheduling part. So here is the main part now. So the backups can be scheduled in multiple scheduling options that we have. So the frequency can be, you can just run manually. So whenever you feel to run the backup, you can run it, or you can run it as one time. So you can schedule a time, and on that only a full backup will be gone. And then after that, you can run it on every few hours or minutes. Like you can schedule a backup to run from every 15 minutes. This is a minimum time to schedule. So, and it goes for hours. So yeah, this goes for hours, like up to 12 hours or something. So that is what your backup frequency that you can schedule up. Or you can schedule to run it on daily basis. If you're going to schedule it to run on daily basis, then you can choose what number of backup should be run on daily basis. Like you can schedule to run about 1 backup per day, 2 backups a day, or up to maximum of 5 backups per day. Okay, so and you can choose, if for example I'm going to choose 2 backups per day, I can schedule the start time of my first backup and I can schedule the start time of my second backup. So when the clock strikes at that particular time, automatically on daily basis there will be a backup happening. And then you have your weekly option. So you can run your backup jobs at weekly basis at that preferable time, and monthly is also the same. So at which particular time on which particular month you can just select the backups to be run. And after a backup is an option that we have. So for example, you have scheduled a backup job previously and you want another backup job to run immediately after the first job in the queue. So in that case, after the backup is in frequency, like I've already configured 2 backup jobs. So if I'm going to select 1 backup job and say that immediately after this single host, that is immediately after this backup job, I want this particular backup job to be configured automatically. So that is what your after backup is all about. So as you could see, we have multiple scheduling options of backup frequency. And then here is your synthetic full backup, as I have already mentioned. So it is created by merging the full backup. So this can be scheduled on weekly or monthly basis. Similarly, we have additional full backup also. So this additional full backup is an add-on full backup, I would say. So for example, immediately when you configure a backup job, the first immediate backup will be a full backup. After that, only your incrementals will be flowing. So all those changes that you happen to see before, based on the previous backup, we track the incrementals. So if you need any additional full backup apart from the initial full that you have taken, then you can enable this additional full backup schedule. And you have this advanced scheduling option where you can enable this backup window option. So you can just choose, for example, here I'm just going for this particular backup job. I can choose my custom settings where I don't want to run this backup from morning at this point of time, like 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on all days. Okay, so that's how you can schedule so that the backups will not be configured or will not be run on that particular schedule that you have given for this particular backup job. If you're going with the global settings, then you have to set that up in this backup section. So what happens is when you choose configure backup settings and you have this backup window, so when you give this option globally, so for all the backup jobs that you're going to configure, that will be the schedule timing. So that is what your advanced schedule is all about for your backup window. And your backup validity. For example, today is your start date, or you can set when you want to start this backup job, or you can make sure that when you want to bring this backup job into enforcement. So that is what your start backup job is all about. And you can also set the expiry date of this particular backup job. So this is what your configuration on the scheduling part of the backup job is all about. And the next stage of the scheduling is going to be your settings. In settings, we have two options, that is retention and encryption. So in retention, like if I disable until your expiry date that you have mentioned for the backup job, you will have all the versions of that backup data, which will actually fill up your storage repository. So to retain a certain amount of backup jobs or backup timestamps, you can enable this option. So what happens is there are two options in retention. One is basic retention and GFS retention. So in basic retention, you can set about 999 versions of backup data that you can keep. Okay, so that is what your that is the number of versions that you can keep with the timestamp. Or you can just go with number of days to retain. So for example, if I'm going to give I just need 2 days of data to be retained with maximum of 5 or 6 versions. So within this 2 days, if I have 6 versions of backup data, it will be considered. Only then after that you will have the retention to be happening. And GFS retention, we have two. So we have GFS both for your full backups that you're configured, that is your additional full as well as your synthetic full. And we also have it for the incrementals. So here you can retain your data on weekly basis, a monthly basis, quarterly basis, as well as for yearly basis too. So this is all you can set it up. And on next. Next is my encryption option. Generally, all your data will be encrypted using AES 256-bit algorithm. So, but to add more to it, when you enable this option, what happens is you get two options to set your encryption. One is you can go with your system generated encryption password, or you can go with your custom encryption password. But make sure when you enable this custom encryption password, you have to give a username and password, and if once you save it, your encrypted data will be protected using that password. Once if you forget that encryption password, then obviously you can't restore your backup job, you can't delete this backup job from the backup repository, or you can't edit the backup job. You can edit the password that you have added to this particular backup job. So it is better that you remember the password. So you can have the hint for that. So that could give you the details in that manner to remember your password. To go with system generated, that is like a VDI backup server has its own key. So you don't have to give any password, but then whenever you're trying to restore, the VDI will check among its ID and it will go with the system generated password. So that's what it is. So if you need, you can enable this option, or else you can keep this disabled. And then next is your review page. So here in this review page, you can check on all the summary of the configurations that you have made, and you can save the data. Once you save the data, the backup job will be saved immediately, and that backup job can be seen in this list backup job session. So in this, I have already configured a backup of my machines. Like I have configured a backup job for a single host and a single virtual machine, and I have also configured a backup job for multi-host and multiple virtual machine. So all these backup success rate, the next scheduled time, all these can be seen in the screen itself. And to know on the reports of the jobs that have completed successfully of the status, you can check on the report section nearby. In this list jobs, you have a reports aside the backup job that you have configured. You can check on it, so you can see the time taken for the backup to configure, the incremental number, you have the size that has been taken a backup, and the status. And if you have any errors, if there is a failure, then obviously there will be a KB ID also along with the result message. So this is how it is. And if you want to see what has been configured in this backup job, So you can check on this view icon. So in this, you can see the backup job details, which gives you a complete detail of what you have configured. Okay. So this is what your backup, your list backup job section gives you on. And if you want to run any on-demand backups, like if you want to run a on-demand incremental backup or on-demand full backup immediately for this particular backup job, I can click on this run now or schedule now option. So in this, I get to see, I get to run incremental backup immediately or a additional full backup immediately. And I click on yes, schedule now. It'll be scheduled immediately and it will start taking the backup. So this is what your backup section is all about. So once you have taken a backup job, you can just check to restore the backup data from the recovery session. You have this recovery option, click on restore backup data. And for the particular backup job that you have configured, here is the original size that is taken and the compressed size of the backup that is stored in your backup repository. You can just click on restore. And you can select the virtual machine, and here is the restore type. So whichever the restore type that you prefer to take, you can go with that option. For example, if you go to instant boot VM, this recovery option will actually help you to boot the data instantly as a ready state virtual machine in an ESXi host or on a Hyper-V host. If you want to restore it on a Hyper-V host, for example, I'm just choosing instant boot option. This is my restore point. I can select any of my restore point. So this particular backup timestamp that I want to move in. So I can choose here. Either I can restore it on a VMware host or on a Hyper-V host. If I'm going to use a Hyper-V host, I should make sure that this BDF backup server is running on a server environment enabled with Hyper-V role. Okay, in that case, I can boot the data directly on that Hyper-V. But for VMware, you can just give the target server name and the, like for example, I just give the target server name and the data store, and I can run the to restore the data. So what happens is the particular backup job will be created as a virtual machine in that targeted ESXi host that I have given. Okay, so once it is done, you can bring back your, you can check this virtual drive. So I've already mounted the data. So if I want to unmount it, you can just click on unmount, and what happens is your backup data is brought to normal. Okay, so this is what your instant boot is all about. And we also have this full VM recovery. So this option helps to restore your entire virtual machine backup to a targeted Hyper-V server. That is what your full VM recovery is all about, so that you can restore your data from host A to host B. That is what your full VM recovery is all about. And disk mount. So this is also similar to this instant boot recovery. So here the particular disk of the backup data can be mounted on the BDF backup server as a new drive or new disk. So this happens to disk management service, and it only applicable for Windows. And here you have download VMs and disk format. This is where your cross-platform migration comes in. So once you select, so though you have taken a Hyper-V backup, I'm just choosing a timestamp. So though you have taken a Hyper-V backup for this, which is VHDX format, I can select to download it in a multiple other formats. I can even download it as a VHD, VMDK, VHDX, flat VMDK, or RAW format. So like a VMDK and flat VMDK are for VMware, where you can just download it in that format and boot it as a virtual machine in VMware. If you download it in VHD or VHDX, you can either bring it up as a virtual machine on a Hyper-V server, or on a you can just bring it as a physical machine from the scratch. And you can even download it in a RAW format for a Linux or any other host. So these are the multiple download file formats for your virtual machine that you have taken a backup. And here is what that I was explaining, like granular level of recovery of your application items. For example, if you have taken a backup of your virtual machine that is running an application of Exchange, SQL, Active Directory, or SharePoint, then you can use this granular recovery option to restore the applications at the item level alone. You don't have to restore the complete virtual machine at that point. It is similar to the file level recovery. For example, this is an image level backup. It's a complete image level backup. I have taken a backup of my complete VM. So I can restore one particular file or folder at times of disaster immediately. So for example, this is my 2 drives, and in this, I just need one particular data. For example, under program files, I just need one particular data. Either I can restore that at a folder level, or one particular folder or a file alone can be restored. This, you can restore it to a particular destination in your VDF backup server. If you enable compression, what we do is we'll just give you with a link, so you can have that link to restore that data, the compressed restored file or application data to any of your machine. So that is what this file level recovery is all about, and it is the same for this application level recovery also. So both are granular recovery options. So yes, we have this is what your restore options is all about. And I was mentioning about the live migration. So this is the case where it happens when you instantly boot your data, that is your Hyper-V data, on an ESXi host. Then obviously you get this option to migrate the data. So once you click on migrate, the instantly booted data will be turned into a permanent VM, and it will lose its ties with this VDF backup server. Okay, so this is what your recovery options for Microsoft Hyper-V is all about. Now to the replication. So here for replication is just mirroring of your data in to another host or to running in another environment. So in that case, you can just go to VM replication option, click on Microsoft Hyper-V. Here, like I can add my Hyper-V cluster, I can add my server standalone or SMB server, or I can even add, all those added details will be listed down here. Since I have already added the detail in data source, it will also show the data over here. Okay. So in this, when I configure the replication, I can replicate my backup data at a host level. I can select the host level completely. The same VM and disk exclusion is available in this too. So once done, the next immediate step is guest processing, which is the same app aware and log truncation that goes on. And then if needed, you can enable, or you can just continue with the disabled state. And your scheduling, here the scheduling is pretty different. It is like you can run your scheduling from every 15 minutes, and you can run it on daily basis and run it on weekly basis, not what you see, not what the similar that you have seen for backup. Okay, the VM replication is completely different. You have only limited scheduling options for VM replication. And here the VM replication window, it is similar to the backup job window. So this, you can go with the global settings, or you can use a customized setting. So you can choose from when not to run this replication. Okay, so this is what the thing is. And on next, here is my target server selection stage. So I can choose to which server, to which target host or the server I want to replicate the data or the virtual machine. So in that case, I can choose my target server from here. So if it is one of the added sources, then I can choose from the added sources itself, or I can just add new target server from this option. Okay, so since I have already added it, I'm just checking on it. And when I check on connectivity stage, yeah, so it will ask me how many restored points to be kept. The maximum is 7. It is enough to keep around 3 or 4 based on your requirement. So 3 restore points of replication data, replicated data will be available in the target end. Okay, so and when I choose storage, So here, when I choose, the storage will be based on the target server. So in this target server, I can choose a storage where I have to put my data, replicated data. I'm choosing a folder or the storage path, and when I say apply, it gets filled up. Okay, and on the next stage is my review stage. So I can review the complete configuration, and I can just give the replication job name and save the replication. Once saved, your replication will occur automatically at that scheduled time. So I've already replicated the data. So for example, you can just click on list VM replication job. So I've already replicated the data. Here are the reports that gives you more of the detail what I've done. Here also you can see that the size and the status that has gone through. And once done, the replicated data can be moved to failover or failback using this failover and failback option under the VM replication. So here, just click on restore replica. If I need, I can failover the backup data at this point. So if I choose failover at this particular timestamp, and I just choose it to failover immediately. Now the failover of the data starts up. Okay, the machine that is failed over there will be immediately booted up. So your failover is successful and it is gone completed. Okay, so you can check that on your reports, and even you can go and check it on the virtual machine too. And once my failover is done, I can now decide whether to finalize my failover or bring back my failover. So once my failover is done, again the same process with this virtual machine, I can either do undo failover. So whatever the changes that you have done on the failover machine will be brought back to normal, so you lose that data. Or I can do permanent failover. So what happens is the permanently failed over data will stay. Okay, so once it is permanent failover, no additional replications will go on. The backup that replication job is void. That is, it becomes null. So this is what your replication is all about. So this is how your backup replications for Hyper-V works. So, and yes, we have tape archival. So if you have a tape infrastructure from LTO generation 3 and auto-loaded 1, then you can add the tape library over here. So we support tape library for a longer archival of your data. Okay? And then you have reports. So each and every job you have the reports. So you have your backup job reports where you can check that on a dashboard level. And when you click on it, you will get to see the complete detail. So here, as you could see, the details are shown here, and your compression rate, the original size and the compressed size that is available in this storage repository, and the size of compression is all available. The next schedule time will also be available. You can also check on the historical backup, that is your full backup and incremental details from this session itself. And you can even download this data for internal audit purposes in a CSV, or mostly in a CSV format. And yeah, so we have multiple reports that satisfy your needs. So even your backup retention report, so the retention that has happened will be also be shown here. Even that you can be downloaded, or you can even set your email notifications. For example, when you set your email notifications at a configured SMTP settings, automatically all the reports will be dropping down in your email, both on a success and failure rates. Even you can choose one email, or you can add the emails continuously, or you can choose different email for different report. So this is what your Hyper-V is all about. Okay, there are some settings that you can even do, like concurrent jobs, backup jobs that you want to run parallelly, data compression level. So either you can go with an optimal default by it will be in optimal level. You can even go for higher compression rate or lower compression rate based on your requirement. And you also have a settings for backup window. As I told, like you can set from when to when not to run your backup jobs, bandwidth throttling for a particular backup job, or to the whole of the backup to the host itself, or you can just check on a backup data integrity. So data integrity is nothing but before you restore any data, you can check the integrity of your image-based backup that you have configured. So at every 24 hours, by default, the backup server will automatically mount the data and boot the data in the server environment, and it will take a screenshot of that boot screen. So for this feature to be available, you should run this VDA backup server on a physical machine or a machine that has the Hyper-V role enabled, a server machine on which the Hyper-V role is enabled. So this is what the total backup scenario for Hyper-V and the recent new introductions for Hyper-V is all about. So now, if for example you need any offsite DR, so for example, like you want to have a secondary copy of your backup data to be stored in another location. So even if your backup server goes off, you can boot it from your offsite location. For that, you can just check on this offsite DR option. So you can just register. For that, you can just register with the Wembu portal. Once register, you'll get an option to restore. Have the data to be replicated to your offsite location. So these are the complete view of things that is coming up in your version 5.0 for the Hyper-V backups. So in this complete BDS backup server in a single window, you can also configure backups for AWS just by adding the AWS account, even your Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace, and your file servers or endpoints and application pairs. So I hope all the upcoming webinars that we have, Wembu conducts webinars on every Thursdays throughout the week. So this week is completely dedicated for this month. So this month is completely dedicated for the webinar on version 5.0. So each and every product will be taken and explained with a demo like this. So today, as we seen this Hyper-V, we will be seeing AWS or Microsoft Office 365, future demos, future webinars, So, and if you want any specified doubts to be cleared, or you just want to have a demo session, you can just contact us. We'll try to help you through a demo session. Okay. So this is a beta build. This beta build is available in our website. So all you have to do is just log into our website. Yeah, just go to wembu.com and you have your resources. You have your download here. So you can just click on the download. Here we have a session for beta. So you can download the beta, or we have something, a live full-fledged GA version, which is already available. That is a previous version 4.201. So that is also available. So you have 30 days free trial for this version, and beta is completely free. It's just, you can try using it and you can get to know what the features are going to come in version 5.0. So we'll be releasing the BDA version 5.0 in a couple of months from now, hopefully by end of August or something. So for then, you can just get to know the features that is going to come. And if you want the recordings of the webinar after 48 hours from the webinar ends, you can just go check on the resources section. You have product webinars. So this page will keep you posted about the upcoming webinars that is going to come, as well as you can even check your previous webinars by clicking on watch more recorded webinars option. Okay, so we'll keep you posted on all the details with the recordings available. So and you also can go through our website completely to know more about the features and the products that is going to come up. So stay tuned with Wembu. I think I have a lot of questions that is coming in. Yeah, I've seen a lot of questions are coming in, and Nivas is trying to answer all those questions, and there are some. I think we have already crossed the time. So those questions will be answered through an email. So within 48 hours, you will get an email with the answers for your questions. And as I told you, if in the middle you need any sessions for specifically about the demo sessions, then you can contact us through Wembu-sales@wembu.com, or you can just contact it through our website. Just go fill up the form. You get our agent to be contacting you, or you can contact us through the displayed phone numbers. So US and Canada users can use this number, and United Kingdom can use this number. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining in for the session. So end of the session, you will have your page redirected to our website, so you can have a look at our website for that. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for attending the session. We are so grateful. Thank you.